Power Mints, one of the biggest additions to Plants vs Zombies 2, and is equally as controversial as the levelling system and the vines, often shunned by hardcore fans for hindering the game's balancing. What do I think about the mints? Well, I ranked them all from worst to best already, so go watch that if you have yet to do so. Well, after this video, of course. However, this video is not about the mints themselves, it's about the plant families, a concept that was added alongside it. This is pretty interesting as it assigns a group to every plant in the game, though some of them are up for debate. Why is Blover a Contain-Mint plant when he doesn't stall? Why is Ghost Pepper a peppermint plant despite not using fire? Well, I guess it is in the name there. In this video, I'm ranking the worst plant from each family. Disclaimer, this video may become outdated later on as plants are still getting balanced on occasion, so please consider checking the day before arguing with the entries if things have changed over time. Not to mention new plants are still being added, which may end up replacing the current inclusions. Also, vines and the mints themselves have been discounted from the list as I ranked them all among each other. I'm Golden Ninja Vlogspot, and before we get on with the list, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more PVZ gameplay, rankings and miscellaneous. Let's start the video off with Peppermint, the family consisting of heat-based plants, as well as Ghost Pepper, and my choice is the Meteor flower. There's quite a few contenders here. The OG heaters Pepperpole and Hot Potato didn't get my pick for most of that reason. Pepperpole were the only free plant with thawing and frost immunity for the longest time, until they added said attributes to Snapdragon, and Hot Potato seems outclassed, but being able to plant on any ice block you want has its advantages, plus she melts Octopi. Inferno was the obvious choice upon launch since that plant absolutely sucked, but then he got buffed, so enter the Meteor flower. It fires airstrikes which target random zombies across the lawn, having splash and leaving behind a molten tile for like 2 seconds at base level. The thing is, its damage is very poor, not even reliably killing a basic zombie with one shot. It's also pretty expensive for what it does. You're better off sticking with Homing Thistle. Next up is Spearmint, and I've gone for the Seaflora. Very easy choice this was. This is the only plant of the family that I would say is weak, but god damn is she weak. She's pretty much completely pointless unless using her in the water in Big Wave Beach, where she gets a multi-lane shot, but even then, it's not very powerful. Some mono world plants still have merit to them, i.e. EM Peach, pre-patch Gold Leaf, but this one has no reason to exist, will never be used unless you replay Big Wave Beach, or the occasional timed event. And honestly, is a challenger for the worst plant in the entire game. Now we have Contain-Mint, and my pick is the Spring Bean. As much as this seemed obvious on surface considering Spring Bean is often deemed the worst adventure plant in the game, it's quite the toss-up between him and Tomb Tangler. However, since Tomb Tangler got buffed, I'd have to give him a pass. Sure, he's only useful if there's graves, but at least there's 2 worlds featuring graves and various extracurricular levels that contain them. See what I did there? He still sucks a fat, undercooked sausage compared to Gravebuster, but I think it's enough to give him a spot over Spring Bean, who can bounce a single zombie and possibly knock him into water in Pirate Seas. Sure, his plant food is very good in this world, but that's pretty much it. He offers no crowd control without plant food, and in other worlds, knock them back just one space. And since you can no longer combo him with Blover, his usage drops at a massive rate. Next up, Ail-Mint, and this is a contention between Scaredy Shroom and Garlic. However, I'm gonna have to say Garlic. Don't get me wrong, Scaredy Shroom absolutely sucks on PVZ2. He has no purpose whatsoever, an absolutely meaningless addition, countered by so many zombies and too weak to deal with lots of things, but he's saved by his plant food. It takes from Pushroom's trait of spreading to everyone on screen, albeit only to others in a 3x3 area, but with unlimited range, which is pretty good. Garlic on the other hand is a failure of diversion. I'm not very big on him on the first game, but at least you can Gloom Walk. On the second game, he's thwarted by way too many zombies to be viable, with a lot of them being in his literal home world, and for no reason whatsoever, he gets a health nerf. For what? Did PopCap feel sympathy for Spring Bean being the game's punching bag and wanted another plant to fill the role instead? His plant food is also subpar, in contrast to Scaredy's one strength, but hey, at least he got Riz. For the Appease-Mint family, I've got the 3-peater. I'm gonna be honest, ever since they added Tumbleweed to this family, he has been a contender for this spot since he is quite literally RNG the plant, but I do think he is a nice cheap plant that can be used well to resist the zombie forces. 3-peater, If you've watched my channel before, you know that I generally dislike this plant, as I think it's way easier and more convenient to just use 3 pea shooters. It has its place in arenas sometimes, I guess, but I feel like about 97% of the time there's a better plant that can be used in place of him. Now it's demolition time, as we're looking at the big guns, or big explosives, and I've gone for Strawburst. This ranking hurts a bit because I really like him, and there's a case to be made that none of the Bombard-Mint plants are bad, and Strawburst, as funny as he is basically a weaker coconut cannon. You're probably shocked I didn't put pomegranate on here, but I'm looking at this objectively. Strawburst has no reason to still be a premium plant given most manual attackers outclass him. He's pretty pricey for what he does and takes a while to grow berries. He is saved by his plant food being pretty much a nuke in the same vein as Boom Balloon Flower's Doomshroom. And it is worth highlighting he is one of the few plants of the family to have actual synergy with Bombard-Mint, since the explosions often overshadow the plant buffs. But overall, a decent plant, just still the worst of his family. Now Conceal-Mint and Murkadamia Nut. Pretty easy choice for me. The melee based damage completely clashes with its implication that it is meant to be planted near the back due to requiring something to power it. Since Gloomvine is useless as it gets eaten first, Moonflower is the only permanent source of power. And honestly, even if you do get them fully set up effectively, it's basically just a Tesco brand Endurian. It's just not worth it, let's be real. Arma-Mint now, and my pick is the Boomberry. Look, I see what they were going for with this guy. He prioritises the backmost zombies instead of the frontmost ones, and I can see these being useful for stationary zombies such as imp cannons and fishmen, but just use Banana Launcher, who can be used to attack whatever you want. The self synergy is nice, doing more damage when there are others on the lawn, but it's not enough to make this guy worth using. Yeah, you could argue that the Cabbage Pult is worse, but at least he is useful in the first 2 worlds. I can't really see anyone going,
you know which plant would be an excellent choice for this level? The Boomberry.
Also, why in the red and orange hell is his name written like that? For reinforcements, I've got the Aloe. Unfortunately, despite getting a pretty big buff, Aloe is still the weakest of the family because I can't think of many scenarios where healing a plant would be very beneficial as opposed to just planting over another in the case of a defensive plant with the first aid or giving plant food to it. Is he worst premium plant in the game levels of bad anymore? Far from it. But there isn't another obvious spot of weakness when looking at the class. Granted, the rest are all defensive plants, with a couple that also have offensive capabilities, making Aloe an outlier, but all things considered, there's better options most of the time. And now for the most predictable spot on the list.
Oh, here comes Golden Ninja Vloggy Woggy Spot again to crap all over my favourites.
You know I've had beef with a certain puny Zapper plant, and with the people that main it. I ranked him low years ago and still mostly stand by that ranking. Strength in numbers doesn't change my mind on this guy that earned his nickname L-Reed. And that's why I'm going with Electric Current. Yep, I'm not kidding when I say that E-Current is significantly worse than L-Reed. But it wasn't always this way. He used to be a limited but interesting and generally effective area of effects plant, but then they patched him so he can knock zombies back. That sounds good. But then they nerfed this to the ground so he can only knock back a single zombie before getting eaten, and zombies can get knocked into him from making contact with the electricity field. He's possibly the worst Gemium plant on top of the worst Fila-Mint plant. For Enlighten-Mint, I've chosen Sunbeam. This choice wasn't too difficult, and I can already smell a few people coming at me because of a certain video, but when you look at the family, there's not really a lot that falter. You could maybe make a case for Toadstool, as she is arguably the weakest out of the swelling plants ever since Chomper got that buff, but I think she still has more utility than the Sunbeam overall, who is only really useful when used on a zombie with at least bucket head health, and even then, pretty much all the other secondary sun producers outclass him. The exception is when he is boosted in the Zen Garden, but plant food alone doesn't get him any higher, unfortunately. Enchant-Mint now, and my choice for the worst is maybe. Nope, not Intensive Carrot because I'm a free thinker.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
To be fair, it's pretty hard to pick in this category since most of them are pretty niche and they're all kind of different from each other. When Levitator came out, he was the worst by a country mile, as well as the worst plant in the entire game. But they buffed him to Ganymede, so he's not anywhere near the bottom anymore. And maybe takes the bottom spot. Yet another one of those not by definition a weak plant but too costly for what it does plants. The maybe is essentially a faux wall plant that fires, let's not forget, not bees, bee-like projectiles. Her attack is actually quite strong, although it does come with downtime and is single target only, which is not exactly desirable a lot of the time. Also, she has synergy with Lightning Reed and Buzz Button. except it's completely pointless with L-Read since a maybe will always go in front of a read. Overall, mid-plant, weird name, terrible animations. Second last one we're going to talk about is Winter-Mint, and I've chosen the Boing Setter. If I was counting the mints themselves, then the Winter-Mint would easily take the spot, but due to the rules, I've picked this thing. It's another case of the family being very stacked overall, so there aren't any I would say are bad, but I've never found great use from the Boing Setter. Her grid item destruction is nice, but just use something that's virtually full board anyway, like Heath Seeker, if you want to take out graves and whatnot, or in that plant's case, the whole field of zombies too. To be honest, a lot of the time I find myself just using her for her planting impact. The chilling has never really stood out to me, especially when you have options like Ice Bloom and of course Wintermelon. Finally, Enforce-Mint, and my pick is Tangle Kelp. Unfortunately, despite being pretty solid in the first game, Kelpie Boy has always been pretty underpowered in PVZ 2. He can only be used in one world, and the rushy, spammy meta of that world doesn't work in his favour at all.
Hey, he can be used to take out fishermen zombies.
That's great! Until a regular bikini zombie spawns behind him and takes the bait instead. And when that does happen, you got to wait a while before using him again. To give him some credit, at least his plant food guarantees the randomly selected zombies will die as opposed to Chili Bean, where they just spawn on the map and can be squashed by non-eating zombies. And yes, he's very handy on the boss fight as he has a specific counter against the Sharktronic sub, but one level doesn't cut the mustard, so he sticks out badly in a class with powerful plants like these. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. If you'd like to see any more, check out some in the end screen that's about to come up. Check out my music channel and my band channel, because yes, I do things other than playing a game where vegetables fight the undead. Check out the links to my Discord server, also links if you want to donate and get your name on the outro screen. I've been Gold Ninja Vlogspot, see you soon.